we're getting straight to the point. At number 78, Thunderball. Welcome to Long Play Video. Welcome into Long Play Video. It's still going through, down to number 78. Still going through my 100 favourite.
You can't say still at 78. That's ridiculous. We've only made it through a quarter.
It just leaves us. It just doesn't leave us a lot of places to go in a year's time when we're still doing this. But actually, a few people hanging around in the shop today.
Great day.
Keen to actually to join in. It's not, we'll have a special guest because number 78 is a film that you've seen, but also just, a couple of customers must have heard about the pod and hanging out. So
the free gelato is still working well.
The free gelato really is bringing people back. So at number 78 on my list then is Thunderball with the irrepressible Sean Connery as James Bond. Yes. Obviously, you have seen this film, Kevin, as everyone on the planet
in the world
may or may not have done. But you know what? I actually found someone, not just someone who has never seen Thunderball. I actually found someone who has never seen a James Bond film in their life.
Impossible.
Oh, and here she is now. Hi, Libby. How are you?
I'm good.
Hey.
Welcome to Long Play Video. Welcome to what presumably is going to be a very educational couple of hours of your life.
I think already, I'm actually just filled with so many questions. And this is just, an area I've never thought to explore before. So I can't stop thinking about it.
I think you'll have a lot more questions after you watch the film. So,
So before we get into the film, what video have you brought back for us?
So it was recently Valentine's Day. So I had to choose a movie for Valentine's movie night.
Nice.
So I chose the wonderful classic, Save the Last Dance. Oh, no, that's not what it's called. What was it called?
Look at the DVD. What does it say? Yeah.
Save the Last Dance.
Yeah, with Kerry Washington, Julia Stiles, probably other people that I don't remember their names too. That's what I'm bringing back.
Great. I mean,
Save the Last Dance.
The combination of ballet and hip hop has never been finer.
Have you seen it? Have you seen Save the Last?
I mean, I was just looking to see if I had, and then when I just described that as ballet and hip hop, I was like, well, I've definitely not seen this. Yeah, that's two things that I do not like. Yeah.
It came out, I think, 2001.
Yeah, I mean, ballet and hip hop isn't filling me full of joy. I don't mind a rom-com, but
well, you'll be unsurprised to hear that there's a bit of rom-com in it as well. But
I'd say a bit of rom, maybe neglected the com. But
oh, really? Okay.
I think so. I don't think you laugh at all.
They had to spend too much time learning how to dance, so they didn't have enough time to learn how to be funny.
And then it was just before Julia Stiles was shipped off to Paris to look after Jason Bourne. So, there's a switch up for her. So thank you very much, Kev. We'll watch this. We'll watch that after this one. But we are here to watch and to talk about Thunderball. So. Never seen a James Bond film. How is that possible?
I don't know. I think what's interesting, because when I was growing up, the James Bond thing that I have interacted with was a James Bond GoldenEye video game.
Best game ever.
Yeah, amazing.
Or maybe.
Yeah.
N64. Just best game ever. After that, games just stopped.
And strange, I have so many memories of that. I remember the control room. I remember the hand. Yeah. I remember the colors, right? But I don't know if that was so popular with my brothers. And I know my brothers watch James Bond, but I don't know. It just never really presented itself.
Did you at some stage were you they've made a film based on this game? That's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, this is great news. Yeah.
I mean, I think a key thing to mention here is that you invited me to do this after I said I don't enjoy watching movies. And you were like, oh,
Wow.
you should be on my podcast.
Yeah.
So I think that's a bit of like an explainer, right?
Perfect, perfect invite. You don't say to someone that you don't enjoy watching movies, not expect to get invited down to the video shop to watch a movie.
I feel like this is your aim in life, or this is like your what you've been put on the planet to do, to actually make people watch and enjoy movies. Like you will like them. Yeah.
Thank goodness there's no Tarantino on the list.
Is there? Spoilers.
Or is there? There's still a lot to go. Okay, that's fair enough. This a little bit before GoldenEye. So let me pass you over.
Hold on, just before we go into that, can I ask you, Libby, what are your what's your thoughts, or what do you know about James Bond? What if someone says to you James Bond, what do you say?
Well, I know Sean Connery.
Yeah.
And
do you know any of the others? Is this a good question?
No.
Yeah.
So something I was thinking about is I was like, I know that there's been multiple James Bonds, and I wonder if I can like think of who all of them are, right? Because like from pop culture, like you naturally just see them, right?
Okay.
So even if they get into the movies or like your family members or whatever. So I did sit down and I tried to think, so in my head, I think there's probably like 4 or 5 people who've played James Bond. This is my assumption. Because I think the first James Bond movies probably came out in the 60s. And
here we go.
The reason I assume that is because I know they're really old, but also I know, Andy, you watched them in the 70s, didn't you? And you said that you watched them
in the 70s, in the 80s.
I'm
not that old.
Definitely in the 70s.
As I was one, I was...
But they were on television, right? They're on cable. Well, I think, let's say 60s, right? But then I was thinking, there's probably been one that comes out each decade. And then they probably have a few James Bonds each time.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, can I think of who they are?
Yeah. So who did you come up with?
I think of 2.
Go on, you got
Sean Connery, and I'm pretty sure Tom Cruise did it too.
Oh wow, that
Tom Cruise
would be
did not
epic.
Mission Impossible. Yeah. Same genre, maybe.
Is that not? I literally thought that was James Bond.
Okay.
Mission Impossible is not James Bond.
It's not James Bond.
No.
Oh.
Bombshell. There we go.
Spoilers.
You heard it here first. Yeah. I would say that Mission Impossible is effectively like the American version of Bond. Would you say?
Yeah, I would, because there's every time that there is a new Bond, there's hints that it might be someone who's American, and then just everyone loses their stuff.
Their mind.
You don't know the most recent James Bond, because obviously it's been fairly big. You live in England. Do you know who the current, or arguably the past one is?
No.
Daniel Craig.
That would do, he is.
Okay.
Yeah, wow. Good. This is going to be so much fun. I cannot wait until you watch this for movie. It's just going to be a delight for you.
I was also thinking, like, when I was sitting down trying to think of people, I was like, in my mind, who else could be James Bond? And then I was thinking, oh, I could make a list now, and then I could watch it, and then after see if my opinion changes.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
Tom Cruise is obviously on that list.
Yeah.
And then I have a few different ones to see kind of what would happen. So I want to hear your guys' thoughts.
Yeah, go for it.
Jude Law.
Yeah.
Yeah, good shout.
Would you like that? Would you think that would be good?
I mean, I think several years back. But
in a point in his life, I think he could have done it.
But I think he was touted.
Yeah, he would have been good.
This one is kind of fun. This will be a few years back. What about Nicolas Cage?
Oh yeah, I mean, Nicolas Cage in anything is brilliant. So
a Nicolas Cage James Bond movie would be immensely fun. I don't think it would be one for the purists, to be honest with you.
It'd be like
The only-
National Treasure, right? Like, if you guys watch National Treasure, like he's so good in like production and
But but there was I mean
I love
we're already right in there. But there's there's supposed to be like a British suaveness from the 60s that goes with James Bond. Do we think Nicolas Cage can be like cool and not just manic and like crazy?
No,
like can
he would be different, wouldn't he?
Yeah,
he wouldn't be that. He wouldn't be able to play what is supposed to be the quintessential James Bond, but he would be. You're right. It would be funny. It would be.
But that's part of the character. Is this like you know, sort of cool, slightly aloof, slightly kind of suave. Like the ideal of a British man in the 60s is exactly. I mean it's that is what they're supposed to be. So maybe more Jude. If there's like
you've taken this badly, Andy, haven't you?
What, really 1 to 10 of perfect 1 to 10 of perfect Bondness. I'd say Jude Law's probably like 7 or 8, 8 or 9. Nicolas Cage is maybe a 3 to 4 on the James Bond scale. That's
Libby, I'm with you. I'm all over it. I love National Treasure.
I was gonna say,
I'm in.
I'll be the judge of that after this. But thank you.
Oh, nice.
I have 2 more, but I'm going to say them at the same time. But talking about like stuff, John Travolta or Samuel L. Jackson.
Oh yes, I think Samuel L. Jackson would be good. Yeah.
Out of the 2 of them, I think Samuel L. will probably be able to pull it off more than John Travolta.
But we can watch it and then we can check back on it.
And I want, while you're watching it, you should maybe watch it like 6 times, and each time just imagine Jude Law, Nicolas Cage, John Travolta, and Samuel L. Jackson like as the main character. There's probably actually an AI that will put them in there for you. To be honest with you. So
I do think, based on those people that you've said, though, Lily, you know, thinking about the films they've been in, the kind of character they've played, other than maybe Nicolas Cage. You know, they are all. I could see how it all sort of. You know, this would be one for the humans, Andy, versus the algorithm. I think you're all in that sort of. Yeah. They all sort of have done similar type-ish sort of characters or films. So I don't think you're too far away.
We can ask the AI who would be what actor would be the best James Bond, and we'll see what it comes up with.
So I need to clarify something, because you've really dropped. Like, I'm so shocked about this Mission Impossible thing.
Like,
oh yeah.
So
that's a whole new genre, a whole new like.
Oh, it's not. You're not thinking of Night and Day, are you? Maybe you're thinking of Night and Day.
No, what I'm actually thinking about is the theme song that done.
Oh yeah.
Is that not the James Bond theme song?
Similar.
It's similar.
Similar to sort of different song, but very similar, and it's the same sort of concept of it's just very sort of John Williams-esque. You know, it's that just an orchestra type song. So I'd say it's the same sort of concept, but it's a different song.
Oh wow, that's so funny. Well,
but
you promised education and you've delivered already.
Here we go. We haven't even watched the film yet. So I'll pass over the film for you. You already know kind of what you're getting. Take a look at the cover and tell us your initial thoughts.
I mean, this cover's interesting, even for me.
There were a lot of covers, I would say. I had to try very hard to find the original video. It's out the back. I had to blow off the dust.
So this Bond is back, like the back cover.
Yeah.
I actually, like, if I didn't know, I would think that this is a still from Star Trek.
Yeah.
Hasn't that, like, the gray shirt, the hair?
Yeah.
Not think.
Really bizarrely as well. I think that's Blofeld, isn't it, Kev?
The Sean Connery. That is Blofeld. Yeah.
And Blofeld's not in this film. So it's a bit of a strange one. That character, I don't think, is actually in this film.
Really?
Yeah.
This can't be the original DVD, surely.
This was the oldest copy I could find out the back. So
I love that they've got that on there.
What about the front? What about the front of the video? Does that kind of tell you what is that the type of thing that you'd imagine from a James Bond movie?
So yes and no. I did think that he'd like have more clothes on. Like I thought he'd be in like a tux. I didn't think be showing his thighs off as much. But
Short shorts.
I think the drink he's holding, that gun is like fascinating. Like
it's a bit phallic, isn't it? It's excessively long.
I think it's a harpoon gun, isn't it?
Yeah. Or like a laser. I think my mind's still on the Star Trek things. Okay.
You're expecting sci-fi. This is gonna be
Yeah. And then of course, like the sexy women in the band.
Yeah.
Wait, is one of them not? Oh, I thought one of them didn't have a top on. Lookers left. That was to see, but yeah. So yeah, I guess it does look like. I mean, it's also in very large letters. It says Sean Connery, Thunderball.
Yeah.
But it doesn't say James Bond.
No.
That's very true.
And then it gives you a little bit of a synopsis on the back, which again is one of the strangest synopses I've ever heard. Do you want to read that out?
Anyone for swimming? If you've a head for depths and your oxygen is adjusted properly, get ready to take a dangerous plunge into deep, shark-infested waters in Thunderball, one of the most spectacular of all the James Bond 007 adventures. Sean Connery plays Bond and, once again, is on hand to do battle with the dreaded Spectre. This time, that monstrous crime organization captures a V-bombers replete with 2 atomic bombs on board and holds the Western world to ransom 100 million in diamonds, or else the total elimination of 2 major cities. Shot on location in Nassau in the Bahamas, with much of the action taking place underwater, Thunderball barely gives you time to catch your breath. And when Bond isn't involved in a battle with Spectre, he's involved in a battle with the sexes. Either way, though, he never loses.
I feel like Sean Connery
perfectly delivered.
Yeah. I honestly feel like this is Sean Connery's. Like he's like, yeah, I'm not going to go too far. I kind of want to be on holiday. Can we do it in the Bahamas? Okay, so can we create the whole film around the Bahamas? There's not really a lot there, Sean. You know, a lot of it's going to have to be underwater. Yeah. Okay, let's do that.
It's interesting saying involved in a battle with the sexes.
Yeah,
that
feels more.
Doesn't make sense.
But that almost sounds like that's better than the reality. So the reality is not necessarily the best.
And when I read it, I did think replete. There's a word that you don't see on modern day movie explanations.
Sadly.
So this is Thunderball. It came out in 1965, starring Sean Connery as James Bond. So this is actually the 4th James Bond and the 4th one that Sean Connery does. There's now 25, I think. There's 25 James Bonds. There's been 6 James Bonds. Just for your understanding of it. Kev, do you want to run us through the 6 James Bonds?
Well, I don't want to, because Livy's going to watch it and then see if she can guess who they are afterwards. So I won't say them now.
I'm not sure that she's going to pick out any of the other actors.
I don't want to influence her, but I do know all the James Bonds, and this will obviously get onto the at some point we'll get onto the debate of who is the best James Bond.
So it's the basically like the 3rd time that the director has directed James Bond. So he does Dr. No and From Russia with Love, and then he doesn't do Goldfinger, and then he does Thunderball. This actually, it took in the most money of actually any James Bond movie until like the 80s, and then if you adjust it for inflation, this is actually the 2nd highest grossing of all of the James Bonds, behind Skyfall, which was the very peak of Britishness in 2012. Basically British.
There's nothing else to watch.
Everything in Britain went backwards after the Olympics, the coronation and Skyfall. But just a paltry 6.8 million in budget, made 141 million, which is 848 million in today's money. So did really well. Is just over 2 hours, which which is sort of long for a movie back in the 60s, and also for a James Bond movie. the reason why there has to be a James Bond movie on the list. Every kind of Saturday night growing up, there would be a James Bond film on. Me and my brother would go into our dining room where we would watch the smallest TV. I mean, my phone, I think, is the same size as the TV that we used to go and watch it on. And so, just sort of literally every Saturday night, I mean, even at the time, there must have only been, I don't know, like 12 of them or maybe 15 of them. And you just used to watch them all like back to back. And then they would begin again. And so, I think for me, James Bond suits the 60s. I think there's a lot of things that you can forgive about the 60s. I actually think that it seems more dated in the more recent ones, where you're just a bit like, I don't think this really stands up to Close Interrogation.
Because they keep the same sort of, not to give you too many spoilers, Libby, but they keep the same themes of what, like you said, what is, James Bond-esque. And you're right, maybe you could get away with that in the 60s, but it doesn't feel very modern now.
And I mean, from the modern ones, Quantum of Solace is actually my favorite one, which is really, really well shot. It's a bit ropey because there's a writer strike halfway through, so it just kind of runs out of plot. But also
Casino Royale for me. I love Casino.
No, I'm not. It's just.
Anyway, Libby hasn't seen any of these, so we're just blowing her mind. We need to get back on track. We're going down a James Bond tunnel.
But that's the thing. Like, as with other films, even if I didn't like enjoy the film, it would be then okay. Well, take it out of the top 100. What would replace it? I'm not sure. But like for me, there has to be a James Bond movie in the top 100. And so it's like it becomes, which James Bond would it be? Because it is just so identifiable. I think to a lot of people who grew up in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, even. I think that's kind of part of the thing. Like, is like, who's your James Bond, as well as who's your favorite James Bond. Arguably, each of the James Bonds, and we won't go into it now to not do spoiler, but each of the James Bonds probably have a film where they are James Bond-esque. That's actually better than any of the James Bond films they would have. I would say that there's at least 2 other films higher up on the list that are like the audition for James Bond for 2 of the actors, and they're actually better than any of the James Bonds that they've been in. So we can maybe discuss that.
So we're going to be looking forward to some Tom Cruise movies then.
I'm happy
about that.
Mission Impossible 7 is right up there.
Yeah, Libby, you've got to watch Mission Impossible 1 to 7 first, then watch Thunderball. So you've got a busy time ahead of you. So what do you think of the film, Libby, then?
Well, I'm really interested to see what the character arc could be for like James Bond. How deep we can really get the different dynamics between the characters. I don't know.
Have you seen Sean Connery films before? Do you know who Sean Connery is?
I just know because of his accent, if I'm honest. Like, I just know the sound of him saying Sean Connery. In his Sean. You know what I mean?
I feel like this almost, because he's always like, he was well renowned for obviously only ever doing his own Scottish accent. And I feel like
even when he's a Russian captain on a submarine.
I feel like this is what forced him into that. He was like, you guys made me keep talking about the English the whole time. I hated it. And so now I'm just going to be 100% Scottish at all times. I reckon like this did damage to him. But sorry, you were saying, so he will be very, very similar to what you probably already experienced.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever watched a movie with him in it, though, other than that.
Oh, okay. That would be interesting. He is a good actor. So I guess was a good actor. Yeah.
Quick question. Was James Bond, was it made like, were the movies made after like a comic or something? Or was this like the first, like, I don't know.
It's of him? It's a series of books. So Ian Fleming wrote the books, and then he kind of helped write the first, I think maybe the first 7 or 8 movies. Funnily enough, this script for Thunderball in particular is super complicated because he had written the book Thunderball, and then someone else adapted the screenplay, and then a different studio bought that adapted screenplay, so that then Ian Fleming wasn't allowed to then write another screenplay for the film. So this was actually Thunderball was supposed to be the first James Bond film, but because of like the legal wrangles and stuff like that, they had to delay it until the fourth one, and then they had to like give the person a writing credit and stuff like that. And then another studio actually remade this film like 10 years afterwards, and still had Sean Connery in, which was very bizarre. But
there's a second version of Thunderball with Sean Connery in.
Yeah, it's
not like another Bond film.
Yeah, no, it's what's it called? Never Say Never Again.
Okay. So it is. The Never Say Never Again.
Yeah,
the old,
which is
he gets interviewed on that a lot, doesn't he?
Yeah, and it's exactly the same story, but it's made by a different by a different studio and stuff. So
they all blend into one for me. They're all like, it's just like you said. There's the key things that you tick off, and then you're like, yep, this is a Bond movie. Which one is it? I mean, who knows? It's in the sea, it's on land, it's in space, whatever.
So for me, like I think this one, and the reason why I like this one more than the others is like this is almost the first time it's cliche. So it's like by this film, they've got all of the tropes, they've got all of the things that then will repeat in everything else. But like this is the first time that they almost pull it all together. So it's almost like this is cliche before it becomes cliche, but then it then becomes cliche. So now looking back, you see everything and you're like, all the one-liners, all of the action and stuff. You're like, this is just every James Bond film. But almost like this is the first time that they do that, because Goldfinger is actually quite different to most of them, and Dr. No and From Russia with Love, they're just kind of trying to find their way a bit more.
It's some fun to look forward to. I think it's going to be interesting. I can't wait to rewatch this and see if I remember actually any of it, or if every other Bond film just sort of melds into this one. I did watch the trailer for this on IMDb, and I was like, wow, the trailers in the 60s were so different. They're like building out the character arcs. I'm like, this is amazing. Whereas now you just get a 2-minute a video of the entire film, and you're like, oh, well, okay, that looks great. And then you watch it and realize you've seen all the best bits already. This was all about, they're like, oh, and James Bond, and here he's doing this. And then they go on to the next, and this is the femme fatale. And I was like, wow, this is like really getting into the characters. It's good.
This is about the plot.
Exactly.
I just see it for the explosions, huh?
And slowly, as we've been more and more dumbed down, now we just show colours to our little eyes.
Where do you stand, Libby? Where do you stand just generally on like action films and like this type of genre?
So I think it isn't something like, I will never do horror. I don't like things that are scary.
Yeah.
I'm very particular about just in more emotionally intense movies. I think my brain struggles to like process the fact that movies are not reality, and so I really have like this like visceral response to them. So I have to be really careful when I watch movies.
That's brilliant. Like, imagine that. It's like your own VR. It's just like
but it's also like it's hard if things get intense. Horrible for my husband, because then if I'm watching something, I'm kind of like, oh, I have to like do jumping jacks while we watch this to get out the stress, and he's like, literally just sit down, or like I'll have to like watch it in 2 parts because I'm like, I need to.
So it's a bit awkward at a cinema, I'd imagine.
It's the best place to do it because they're usually AC. I could just like
everyone get up, let's go.
They're like, why is this Jazzercise?
When you get the mic
onto
down.
something here. This could be, if we buy the studio next door, Andy, this could be watch videos while also exercising.
So that being said, like this is something that I don't think it would be too intense. Well, I think my concern would more be like, will I struggle to stay engaged if I'm being told? I think sometimes with action, I feel that way because there's so much like just stuff going on that I get engaged with characters and like plots and stuff. And I think sometimes with action, that's not really like, that's not what people are there for, right? Like people are there for kind of cool visual effects and whatnot. So I wouldn't typically go for it, but it's not something that I would be reluctant to watch like I would if it was horror or something.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. The good news is this was made in the 60s, so the ability to put together good action sequences is very low. So they do build the characters a bit more in this one, so that's probably good news for you.
Yeah.
What I'm interested to see though is I'm curious, like in my head, James Bond is doing like crazy stunts, right? Like I was thinking about how we just watched that trailer with Jackie Chan. Like, is that, is that, because that's what I picture like James Bond kind of being like. And so I'm interested to see like, what are the stunts like?
Yeah.
Does he do his own stunts? Also, it's the 60s, so I don't really know how advanced stunts were back then. Like they hadn't explored it as much, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm also like, I'm intrigued to see like what action's going to be like for that.
Yeah. No, that's all fair. And I think, I remember this being, it's quite fun all the way through. Like it never gets kind of too intense. And it's just like that 60s sensibility of like, there's a car that goes really fast. So then like the music is really tense, but you're like, but they're just driving. I think it'll be fine.
Sorry, I was just gonna say, I'm also really excited to see what this 100 million in diamonds looks like. Like, I'm really looking forward to that shot. Like, 100, like, how did they make them in the 60s? What were those Hollywood studios using for that?
In the 60s, that was just one diamond. Like that. Nowadays, you need like 1 million of them.
They presumably they ask, how many people are in the organization? How many diamonds do you need? If you're going to split them, like is someone getting more? Like if there's one person who gets 60% of the swag, obviously you need a diamond that's 60 million. I would say, have you ever seen Austin Powers?
Yeah.
So this one in particular, I think inspired quite a lot of Austin Powers. Because again, this is just when it becomes cliche. So I think there's going to be, there is definitely one scene in this film that you'll be like, oh, I know that scene. That's from Austin Powers. So that will also be just quite a fun kind of thing that like you will recognize, and you'll get a reference from Austin Powers that then will be back here, which will also be quite fun to happen.
Yeah, nice. So many films to watch. Yeah, I mean, how what we got to do with our time? We better get. It's a good job the shop's not that busy.
You've got to get through all these videos. Awesome. Well, so we'll put it on. We'll can everyone else sit down, please? Thank you. Yeah, we're just about to start.
Jazzercise does not begin.
If you need to stand up and do jumping jacks while you watch it, that's fine too. Let's include everyone.
Everyone stretch, please. We don't want any injuries. We don't want to have to stop the film and get the paramedics in. Just make sure those hamstrings are getting stretched. Kev, if you could show Libby maybe to the gelato machine and get a gelato and then sit down and we'll speak after the film. So as we put the video in, what would Libby think of her first James Bond? I mean, obviously James Bond has a few issues for modern audiences, so there's going to be that. But I think this one stands up. So I think she's going to find it funny and a bit silly. But enjoyable. I think it's a good film. I think it stands up. So I think overall she'll enjoy it, but we'll have to wait and see.
Unbelievable.
In a good way or bad way, or just as a statement.
I've just never seen somebody with a jetpack before. I thought that was quite unbelievable.
Why did they not catch on? I can't understand. Using a jetpack, so basically like strapping a bunch of fuel on your back and to escape people shooting at you. I wonder why that didn't become a
and it looks so easy, right? Nice, easy take off, easy landing.
It's like there was a few times I'm like, why don't you have your jetpacks again? Like, surely it's not a one-time use, right?
Yeah.
It has to be a multi.
This is classic Bond though. Once you see more Bond films, you'll see like he loves his gadgets, so he uses it once and then he wants a new one.
It's like single use plastic. He only goes for single use gadgets.
Yeah.
You never see a gadget in the next film. He's like, no, I've done that. No. I'm moving on.
Yeah.
So I mean, unbelievable is a statement of it. It was not believable, which I think we'll all agree. Unbelievably good, unbelievably bad. Your first experience with Bond. I mean, to go back and have that first experience with Sean Connery's
it's funny
soothing voice.
Say that, because watching it, I was wondering if I can ask you a question, because I'm curious about, like, I think
why is it not Nicolas Cage?
Yeah, I mean,
that one kept me awake. I just can't get over that. I've been trying to write letters to Hollywood.
Yeah, I mean, that's every film, right? Yeah,
I sent a letter to Hollywood. I don't know who will open it. You need to make it happen. No, but I was curious. So, like, sometimes when I think about movies that I watched as a kid, like, I remember just being in awe or shocked and, like, not understanding how something happened in that movie. And then I watch it as an adult and it all comes together, right? And I'm like, oh, wow, like, I just didn't get it. And I was curious how that is for you with this movie, because you said you watched a lot as a kid.
Yeah.
So what parts of it were you so in awe about? And also, is there anything that now as you watch as an adult, you're like, I remember how I viewed that as a kid and it is, like, different now?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it, but also, like, with Bond, I used to watch them as a kid, but I also watched them as a teenager. I also watched them as, like, I think early 20s, we did like a Bond marathon and watched them all back to back.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the thing is, I know exactly what you mean, but with Bond films, I think for people kind of growing up from the 80s onwards in the UK, the thing is you watch them so often that almost your understanding evolves every time that you watch them. So I think I mean, at the time, like in the sort of late 80s, I guess, when I was sort of watching them with my brother at home, it was just like a different world, right? We didn't travel, we weren't well traveled. So him going to the Bahamas and, like, you know, seeing so many different types of people and him just sort of like being at ease everywhere was just, you're just sort of in awe of someone just being able to do that. And obviously you think it's real because you're a kid and don't know any better. And then kind of as you get older, I think you see, I think especially with this one, actually, I actually really appreciated, like, his interaction with the girls. I think in this one is way better than most. I think there's only sort of once or twice that he's actually sort of someone. So actually, as a medium, that's quite low for a James Bond movie.
I think we need to get the elephant out, don't we? The elephant in the room. So I don't know if you know this, Libby, but that's one of the things that people in a modern age really dislike about James Bond. You know, he, especially the older films, and he's very misogynistic. So it's a lot of people want the character to be cancelled because all of those things that Andy just said. But I think you're right. This one didn't seem bad.
I love at the beginning when, like, the French agent is like, oh, is there anything else we can do? And he's like, maybe later. And she's like, cool. Like, she's like, yeah, no, I meant sex. I did it. Like, obviously I meant sex. Like, we all agree that, okay, no, that's fine. And then, the health club one, okay. That's not good. The whole mink glove thing, I don't know if anyone's got that in their notes, but what?
Also, the note of him going, see you later, irrigator. I was like, what? Was that like improv? Like, what did you do?
That was what down as my best line.
That's the thing, though, is like, it is incredibly misogynistic on several levels. But at the same time, I wouldn't say cancel it, because sadly, but I do think it's representative of how women were viewed at that time. It'd be very different if you made a movie in the Western world, you know, in the United States, and had this was the exact thing right now. Like, that just couldn't happen. But I think, like, that is very much just a sign of its times. And I think it's not like canceling it, but I definitely think it's worth acknowledging in watching it.
Yeah.
And I think to your point, Andy, that obviously we've seen all of the Bond films, so we know the benchmark of where we're at.
Just how bad it gets.
That's shocking. Because I thought that it was pretty bad. I was like,
I know. Well, yeah,
No,
unfortunately. Yeah. I mean, I think that's, and in this one, I don't know if that's funny you should say that, because I was then thinking, oh, this one's not too bad, because I know how bad it can get. So, which is probably not a good thing. But I did think
the two main
female characters,
female characters are actually quite strong, right? The Domino actually,
I wrote that down.
saves him. Like she actually kills the baddie in the end, and like saves him, which is a great line. I'm glad he's dead. You're glad. It's just a great line. And then the sort of femme fatale, I think, is a really great character again, because so in Goldfinger, the one before this, he basically sleeps with the baddie, and then she like repents and is on his side, because obviously he's just that good in bed. And in this one, actually, they like play off that and are like, oh yeah, just, you know, she's almost like, yeah, just because I slept with you, then you think that I'm gonna like all of a sudden just like become a different person, like what
it's almost about, like she's bonding Bond. She's like, no, I deliberately slept with you because, you know, this was my plan to catch you. I thought the female characters were actually pretty strong.
We have to find a Roger Moore one, and we'll get you to watch that, and then you'll be texting us afterwards. You're like, oh, Thunderball, definitely Thunderball.
Thunderball's
over this one where he like tricks someone into it. How were you? Obviously, you were looking forward to a lot of the stunts and a lot of the fights. How did you think those stood up? I mean, that first fight, I just don't know how they managed it. Surely someone got injured whilst doing it.
Yeah, I was definitely expecting something much different, wasn't I? I was like, oh, because this is the thing from watching it. So I had this image in my head that James Bond was going to be this incredibly clever guy and just be able to get out there. But he's actually just really lucky.
Yeah.
You know, just nothing bad happens to him. And I actually think Sean Connery's face is perfect for the role as well, because he just looks like he's half asleep all the time.
Yeah.
So this James Bond fellow is just like sleeping through life and like nothing's happening to him. And you can kind of see that in any of the fight scenes as well.
Yeah. No, and absolutely. And again, like for this one, that's almost why I like this one more than all the rest, because this isn't a superhero movie. In most of the other ones, he's like this infallible, like, you know, everything, you know, he's just in control of everything and gets everything. Whereas in this one, it's way more accurate to the books. In the books, like he just gets lucky time and time again. And he is sort of more of a, like, you know, sort of, you know, the sort of drink problem kind of, you know, secret agent who just kind of just about gets away with stuff. And I think that's why I like this one so much, is that you sort of, he is just very, very lucky and like just gets sort of the roll of the dice in a few. And then he goes through it with kind of like a cheeky, like what I would think of as like flirty cheekiness, because he's got like that glint in his eye, but then it's not that he's almost sort of, it's not at the film, it's not at the premise. I think some of them, they got so cheesy that it was kind of like, you know, you know, we know that we're in on the gag, that this is all stupid. And it's not that. He's still living the character. Yeah. But he sort of does it with a bit of a twinkle in his eye. And I to be honest, like definitely as a probably like 7 to 13-year-old, that was flirting for me. Bit of cheeky. Bit of like a bit of a joke, a bit of a one line and a like witty comeback. I mean, I wasn't particularly successful with the ladies, but you know, that was.
You probably shouldn't have. You probably shouldn't have been wearing those short shorts, Andy.
Well, I mean, the orange, the orange vest as well was just part of my wardrobe. That was okay. And kind of Darren was reading a little bit about it. Someone made the comment that this is very unlike other Bond films as well, because you know who the baddies are and what's going on, and rather than like discovering it alongside Bond. So it's basically Columbo, and I love Columbo. So that is why I think I like this one, is that it's all about how he figures it out. It's not how like you figure it out and then he figures it out and stuff. It's like, no, you know where the plane is, you know who the baddies are, you know what they're, you know what they're doing. And then it's like, well, how is he going to figure that out? And kind of, you notice different things. So, Libby, you were worried about sort of the tension, having to do some jumping jacks. I mean, I presume you had to do that during the car scene when she was driving on the roads, because again, that was, I hope it was stunt people inside that car.
It was so realistic. Yeah.
I was actually surprised. So throughout the movie, I just had a lot of laughs. There was a lot of stuff very funny, but at the very end on that boat scene, like the final boat scene, there were a few times that I like did like a scream of like, come on. So like it did actually, I was like, I didn't expect that from it. But it was a very laid back film, I would say.
Yeah. Is it, I think very 60s, like that's or like how I imagine the 60s in the UK. Maybe it was just like, just very chilled. He's going to a dance in the Bahamas in a tuxedo. God, he must have been so hot wearing that. Like, why would you turn up in a full? I mean, he's going to the casino, but still.
Also, he's climbing on the roof in dress shoes. I was like, what? There's not going to be any traction on those shoes. How are you doing that?
He bond,
that just pushed the credibility in those shoes. Come on, guys, seriously.
Yeah, it was going on. I think that was one of the good things, because often in Bond films, it's funny. You watch it. I watch it now as almost like an action movie. And you're like, oh yeah, well, you're waiting for the action scenes to see what happens and how it goes. Whereas in this film, you're like, actually, this is more of a character and a story-based film. I guess because obviously in the 60s as well, special effects, as we could probably clearly quite see some of the stuff people come through.
You know what? This is the only Bond to win for visual effects an Oscar. All of the other Oscars that Bond films is either been about the sound or the song. This is the only one. They do like their new underwater camera. It has to be said.
I was going to say, when you said visual effects, I was like, do you mean the lampshade you can look through and see the bottom of the ocean?
Oh my God.
Just the gadget.
Oh my gosh, the effects are so funny. The other one I thought was so funny is when he gets put on that spine stretching machine, right?
Yeah.
And then the guy turns it up. And he's like, and I was like, why is there a setting that can even go that high? And
why is he holding on? Surely just let go.
It's so ridiculous.
She was like, I think your hand might have bumped. I'm like, well, that's a poor design. Why are you? But if it has this setting nobody should go to and their hands can bump it, surely.
I mean, it just shows you we should be very grateful to the 60s and 70s. They worked for a lot of things to get us to the massage spa world that we now exist in.
My back stretcher that I have at home now doesn't actually have that setting. So thank you 60s.
Yeah. I actually have a block, because then he goes up to the guy and like blocks him in the little like heat pot. Yeah. And in all block letters here it says, why is no one regulating these machines? What is going on?
It's true. It is a problem. In the 60s, you were just free and easy. You didn't have to worry about, health and safety.
I mean, and also on the effects, how did they do that thing where they had someone with the pilot be outside the door and him be inside the door? How did they do that effect?
I mean, they're just
it's literally like there's a screen in front. You
could tell as well. There's one when the plane is landing on the sea, the MiG jet, which would never happen. That would explode immediately.
I had some questions about being able to land a MiG on water. I know, but they did it on the Hudson, I guess, right? So
Tom was looking on. And then they cut to the scene of it just on the water, and you're like, it's so obviously a miniature. You can tell it's a little toy. That was good.
I did like that. I also just the last thing that I sort of particularly thought was great is when he's like with Largo at the end and like he's one of the gang. Yeah, he must have chosen the swimmer to like kill to replace who just everyone hated at work. Because he must have been on that boat for like a good 30 to 45 minutes and no one was like, where's Dave? Did he leave his goggle on the entire time? Did he
exactly.
And someone's like, "Oh, Dave's over there by himself." Yeah, good. Hate Dave.
Yeah,
It was awful on the last one.
Yeah. Oh, Dave's doing his Scottish accent again. Oh my god.
Yeah. Does Dave look different? Maybe he got a haircut. Like literally, no one cares. No one
exactly.
even notices it's not the same person.
Is Dave 7 inches taller than normal?
Yeah. Has he been on one of those whacks?
On that, something that I found really difficult in this movie, and I want to know if you guys relate to this as well. Do you have a really hard time just telling people apart?
Just in life generally?
No.
Who did you?
In this movie, everybody looked the same to me.
Oh,
well, they just got an eye patch.
Okay, that's the one thing. And
you mean they all just look like old white middle-aged men? Is that what you're trying to say?
They all look the same. And there's even when they get into the swimming pool with the sharks.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, James Bond has been stabbed. The sharks are going at him. And then a couple seconds, Alex is like, what? No, that was not James Bond. I'm like, they chose somebody that looks just like him to fight again.
I must say.
I really couldn't. I couldn't tell people apart. The women all looked very similar as well.
Because there was only 4 people. They're probably just using all the extras. And you only became an extra as a failed leading person. So you'd only actually become an actor if you looked like Sean Connery. Yeah. And then they were like, oh, no, you can't be a leader. Okay, can I be henchman number 1 then? Yeah, sure. Yeah, get it going.
That was actually one of the things I really struggled with it. That, and I found sometimes the storyline to be difficult to follow a bit. And I know that sounds a bit silly, but sometimes I'm like, wait, how did that? But everybody.
I mean, it's not one to overthink. I would say as well. Yeah. Guy with the eye patch is the baddie. That's basically that's basically shit. I think for me, I'm not sure a tattoo is the way to go for a secret organization. I think everyone having a tattoo
is
a secret organization. I feel like whoever came up with that in that meeting, I think they were like, isn't that going to make us quite easy to identify? You know, we all have one. Yeah, everyone has a ring. Again, like swag for a secret organization.
Hey, and mate, it's not a small ring. Sorry, Kev, but it's not a small ring. It's like a ring that takes up an entire knuckle. Sorry, Kev.
No, I was just going to say, they covered this all off in the finance meeting in the first 10 minutes. I'm like, why is there a finance meeting?
So my point about that was they would have really struggled with remote working during COVID, wouldn't they? Because they wouldn't have been able to electrocute that guy if everyone was on Zoom. It would have been like, "Ooh, I'm glad that we're on Zoom. You can't electrocute me anymore."
It's like, Andy, there's a technician just going to come round to yours today. Can you leave the house for a couple of hours? They're not putting in a trap door. No, definitely not putting in a trap door. Can you just go away for a little bit? Yeah,
we're electrifying your mouse, and we're gonna do it. Although it's no better for the goodies. I thought Sir John really hammed up that presentation. He's got everyone. Over to you, Sir John. Sir John stands up. He makes the picture go up. He has a map of the world. He says, "Yeah, we've looked around. We have no information," and then sits back down. All right, Sir John. Yeah, you've milked that a little. You maybe needed to have come with a bit more information there, I think.
That's what happened in those days. You know, it was the realization of like, oh, actually, we don't have any information. If only we had some secret agents somewhere. So that would be really handy.
It reminded me of meetings where you're like, look, I haven't found anything. Don't throw it over to me. And then the person sort of panics and it's like, Sir John, and he's like, oh, you. Now I have to get up and say that we don't have anything. It's going to be very embarrassing.
Yeah. Find a trap door now.
Yeah, that was good. I did also think that in the first sort of 45 minutes of the film, James Bond really isn't in it all that much. You see so much of Spectre and them doing that, and then actually like getting the plane and doing all of that side, and like James is just sort of messing about at the spa. Actually, he's really not in it a lot, which is very different, definitely to like the later Bonds where basically Daniel Craig's in like every single scene. So I thought that was quite interesting.
Daniel Craig or Craig David? Did we get to the bottom of that?
I said that to Alex afterwards. I was debriefing. I was like, then there was a moment that I just was so confused, and and he's like, "Did you tell them that?" I was like, "No," and he was like, telling me.
It's probably for the best. We'll edit that bit out. Don't worry, it'll be fine.
I want to see that film. That film would be epic. Oh, there was one thing that I did think was a bit strange. I don't know what happened. Like, I was just thinking, was this actual evolution? Because I guess this is the 60s, so it's nearly 50 years ago. Like, are people just less hairy? Everyone just seems to have huge eyebrows. I was like, I don't shave my eyebrows, but I feel like I have less hair than everyone else in the 60s.
Maybe there was no men weren't grooming as much back in the 60s, obviously.
I have to say, I think that was one thing that I actually kind of liked about it. I guess there's like this
the eyebrows
perspective, but like if you look at, like, for example, okay, so all the women kind of look the same, right? Like, their hair and makeup's kind of similar. They all have like large breasts, and then the rest of them is like quite petite. But at the same time, like, their faces are very different to kind of what you see now, in that like there's not as much like work done, and it just looked more natural. And I'm like, I liked that, like seeing that it's from like a very different time.
Yeah.
And I thought, cool. And the same with the guys, because like the thing is, let's be honest, Sean Connery doesn't look like he's just like hitting the gym every day, does he?
No.
This was the thing that amazed me about this film. He's 35 in this film.
No, he's not.
I know. I'm like, you mean 45? There's no way he's 30. Yeah,
Are you
30.
serious?
Yeah. I mean, how bad were the 60s? You aged badly in those days. Like, I swear Daniel Craig.
Shocking.
Yeah. I was really surprised. I was like, is he really 35? Amazing. But yeah,
he goes on to do 2 more, I think. So yeah. But that's it.
Daniel Craig wouldn't have started until he was in his 40s, I don't think. But he still would have looked younger than when Sean Connery started.
And also more buff. That's the thing. Like, especially because there's so many scenes of him just in his shorts. Like nowadays, you'd have to have a 6-pack, and again, you're just like, really, like that's not realistic. If he's a spy, he's busy. He's not at the gym.
It's why we get Craig David back in. You know, he's DJing on Muscle Beach. He's got that 6-pack ready. He's good to go.
Every time I hear Craig, my brain is like, which one are we talking about? Work, so much work.
I think as far as kind of obviously there's just so much that dates it as a film. So I don't think we do. I mean, it is a moment in time. So I do think that just a special mention to £100 being $280 million.
I'm thinking that too.
Yeah, that was actually that was the exchange rate was actually set, and it never varied up until the 70s. I just learned about that in a book. So that was good. Libby, did you have a description of the plot to the aliens in 30 words or less?
Yeah, I wrote it down.
Intrigued.
Are you ready?
Yeah,
go for it.
When 2 nuclear bombs are stolen for ransom, NATO and its spies fear that the most deadliest weapon has fallen into the wrong hands. Little do they know, the biggest threats are sharks in captivity and in the wild, harpoons, and having the connective tube to your oxygen tank sliced.
Nice.
Because everybody gets killed or something by the same 3 things. There's sharks in there's sharks in the ocean. And
it's so funny. It's so obvious on many occasions they're in a swimming pool, and then they cut the cord, and they almost die instantly. And you're like, I mean, they would have died instantly. That's the good thing about the 60s again as well. Like, no one had really we didn't know enough about. We hadn't been scuba diving. There was no internet, so you're like, oh right, so that's what happens. You die really quickly if it gets cut.
Well, and even to be honest, losing their goggles seemed to also kill them.
Yeah, that's right.
So that was very strange.
That was so funny. It was like, people trying to have like a proper argument and then just sort of slapping each other. It's like, oh, just gonna take your goggles off and run away. Yeah. Yeah, that definitely.
That sounds like that would be a good description to have on the DVD when we give this movie to the alien, because my 100 films are the only 100 films that survive the end of the world. So that'd be good.
What did you have, Andy?
I want to know what. Speaking of the aliens.
No, the DVD.
Back of the
Two
DVD.
notes here. One, it says 1 hour, 6 minutes, no mention of diamonds. 1 hour, 32 minutes, they finally mention the diamonds. But then that doesn't even, like, you don't, it nothing really happens, does it? But if you remember, I was like, "Ooh, I'm looking forward to these diamonds."
You don't see the diamonds.
It didn't really happen, did it? It didn't really mention much.
This is not the correct back of it. Someone's accidentally printed this and then thought, well, we've printed it now about 10,000 times. We've got to put it on the case. It's just like the front's all right. No one reads the back.
And then felt like they had to make an entire film called Diamonds Are Forever to make up for the lack of diamonds in this Bond film. That was the reason that they did it.
Sorry, Andy, what's your description?
So I had, funny enough, very similar to like what you said at the beginning, not to your description, but at the beginning, I had James Bond bumbles his way through a plot to save a country with a GDP of $108 billion to $200 million. It seemed like just pay him. Like, I just don't think it's worth it. Like, this is really not a lot of money, even at the time. So
but you know they're not really going to hand you back the bombs, are you? You know what they're like. These cheeky villains. Come on.
What did you have, Kev?
I went very abstract. So I went an underwater theme park does not have a good opening day.
Water World in the Bahamas.
Things have gone from bad to worse. It's really got awkward. Someone let sharks in, you know. Did we? My questions. I had some quite serious questions. I think that the film throws up. First of all, who steals his hat? Like, his hat gets stolen from the office of the Secret Service. Who steals his hat? Do you think it's a Moneypenny? Yeah, it must be Moneypenny.
Moneypenny steals his hat, but like he even like goes to get his hat and it's not there, and he's like, oh. And I can't figure out, like, is that
they must have just lost it? They must have lost it, and then he goes back in the scene and he's like, are you actually deliberately doing this? Are you gaslighting me? Because I'm sure I put that up there.
Because I do think that again is like a good so in the 3 previous Bonds, part of his sort of shtick is he goes into that office and the hat stand is the other side of the room, and he throws his hat and it goes on. But they've moved the hat stand to next to the door, which I think is like, again, it's sort of funny because it plays with the sort of the Bond history, but like in a sort of funny and cheeky way. But then his hat's not there, which is a bit strange. Are nuclear bombs radioactive when they're not, before they're exploded? Like, is everyone who's working on like a nuclear submarine slowly being killed by radioactivity? Because they have the Geiger counters. And I'm like, but surely just a nuclear bomb isn't radioactive until it actually goes off. Otherwise it's broken, isn't it? Like, why were the Geiger counters going off? I didn't understand that. And then right at the end, what happens to the scientist who actually like gets her out? Like, the 3 of them jump off the boat and they just leave him. And then then they both get in the raft, and then they get picked up by the plane, and they're literally like 6 miles off the coast of Miami. That was so unnecessary to have the plane, which I'm sure would have actually killed them, like get the cord. You're like, there was actually boats chasing them. So why didn't the boats just go and pick them up? It was very strange. Those are the questions that I felt the film needed to answer for me. Did you guys have anything else?
I actually didn't really have anything on this. I was like, because obviously, apart from what you've sort of said, there were just so many like just random weird things where you're just like, I don't understand why this is in there. That you just have to just go with it and go, well, I just guess it's a film with the 60s. It's just weird. It's like right at the end, and the big action scene at the end, when they've got Largo's obviously this guy with an eye patch with obvious grey hair. And, his stud double on about 4 different times has got pure blonde hair. And you're like, why didn't he dye his hair or put a wig on? And you're just like, hold on, is this? I was thinking, who's this guy? Where's he come from? Like, it's the stunt guy.
eye patch. Just look at the eye patch. That's what they want you to be focused on.
I was just saying, don't overthink it. Don't overthink it. Oh dear. What about
anything you would change from a genre point of view? Anything that you would add in? My only thing, funny enough, we were just literally just talking about flash mobs, and I felt like a choreographed dance with everyone during the carnival would have brought something extra to it. I just think if they could have done like a Grease type, everyone doing the same dance. I feel like it would have added something.
I thought you meant like underwater. I thought you meant like choreographed water fight scene. Like I thought you were trying to have it be more like West Side Story, but like I was like, oh, great suggestion.
That would have been awesome.
I love it.
They could have like swum together and then like swum apart like they do. It's a jet.
Yeah, it'd be cool.
Kind of works, jets underwater. I don't know.
Yeah.
Did you have anything that you'd want to swap out?
I think if I know this would change it probably a lot, but I would have it be more rom-com-y, and then I would have more background into why he has not only commitment issues, but he is at the level that he's willing to have sex in this transactional way, and that he's like, I'm having sex for business. And he was even like, well, I have to, it's for business. And I'm like, I just kept thinking, like, what happened to you as a child? Like, what was the family? What were those dynamics? Have you always been this way? Is it because you're like a secret agent, so you can't actually like connect with people, and is that hard on you? Like, those were my questions. So I think that's it. Also, I just like increase the consent.
Just a smidgen. I think that's a fair one. I mean, do we think like a James Bond origin where like I don't know, he
when he's
becomes a womanizer with his mum or something like that. And you're just like, this makes all the other films quite sad, but at the same time, like, at least it explains them.
It's almost like an actual documentary, and you're like, oh no, what happened? Look, he didn't even want to be an agent. What have they done to him?
I think that's the thing with Bonds. They aren't rom-coms. Maybe it is the lack of consent that scuppers the rom-com side of things. So
What about favorite lines then? There must have been some great ones you had on this then, Andy.
I loved the you swim like a man. So do you. Well, I've had a lot of practice. I thought that was brilliant.
And then in that scene as well, he says, "Do you come here often?"
He actually says it twice. I was furiously doing research. Is this the beginning of "Do you come here often"? He says it to her when they're dancing as well, and I was like, she just say, "Do you come here often" again? I do love when she says, now that you're here, do you mind passing me something to put on? And he gives her the shoes.
The shoes.
I think that's a great move.
Because he's like annoyed because he knows that she killed the other agent. He's like,
Actually, he doesn't care. He's still cheeky. I love the shooting scene where he's like, oh, it seems very difficult. And then maybe pull me one, and he pulls, and he's shooting off the hip, and he just gets it, and he's like, oh no, it isn't, is it? You can just see Vargas like, oh, you cocky so-and-so.
Mr. Bond, I'll have you.
And then Vargas, Largo saying about Vargas, the baddie, Vargas does not drink, does not smoke, does not make love. Why does, as Vargas's boss, why do you know that? Like, why has that come up in an interview? Or has that come up in we're going out tonight? Oh, I don't make love, just so you know. Oh, well, why? We were just going out for a drink. I don't drink either. Oh, okay. Well,
it's on his CV.
Like the conversationalist, he doesn't seem like one that he's gonna like be just giving up that information.
He's not sharing. He's not oversharing, and yet somehow that he doesn't make love. I worry about the interview process.
And then it's almost like his boss is trying to embarrass him in front of James Bond. Like Bond's like, shall I just leave you guys to this so I come back later?
He's not
seems-
interested at all, though.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Bond's looking at the girl. He's not interested in the
obviously.
least. When he's like, "Oh, shall I show you around?" It's like, "Yeah, okay."
Yeah.
And then he's just not paying
See what happens.
attention, and that's so great.
Yeah.
Were there any others that you picked out?
That was it for me. You covered off pretty much all mine.
I did notice for the first time. So that gun looks more fitting for a woman. You know a lot about guns, Mr. Bond. No, not a little about women. But that is because he's trying to get him to admit that the woman with the car is there, because he sees the car before he goes in. So that line does actually have plot consequences. He's trying to say there's a woman here shooting because that gun is for the woman. And I never spotted that.
Do you reckon that they cut a scene out to link that together?
Oh, well, I think it kind of links quite, because he sees the car like round the corner, so he knows. I mean, she's also wearing the bling ring, the hoodie for Spectre, as it would be these days. It would be like a Spectre hoodie, and you'd be like, again, secret organization. I'm not sure that's the way to go. But then, I thought that, well, it's good, and that line actually makes sense.
I think the main quote that's just stuck with me is. Sorry.
I'm loving it.
Compose yourself. Compose yourself.
Mink. It feels
like
what? What are you talking about? And then he has the mitt, and he's just rubbing her back with it. I'm like,
stroking.
What are you doing?
The entire film was financed by the Mink Association. That's the only reason that comes in.
Oh my gosh!
I am almost 90% sure that was cut out of the ITV version I saw as the kid. When I watched it this time, I was like, I don't remember some weird mink glove being in it, which is just it's so random. Was there a character that you would like to be, or that you identified with?
Yeah, go Libby.
I couldn't tell them apart.
Oh yeah.
One of the women, but that's that's about it.
I don't know. You, I guess it'd be cool to like gadgets. I mean, I'm really just trying to come up with an answer. I didn't really resonate with it.
Up at Q as well, because obviously he becomes a much bigger character as the films go on. And up at Q. What about you, Andy?
So I first of all, I don't know who I'd be, but the one guy I wouldn't be is the guy on the front of the boat shooting the machine gun.
Oh my God, yeah.
That seems like a very hazardous position to be in as a naval officer. You're on the front of a speeding boat, just with a machine gun as people are shooting at you. I'm like, no, wouldn't be that. But then beaten literally 3 minutes later, as they're getting away and the fight's going on. I don't know if you noticed, but a henchman comes up from the galley with a champagne bottle and some glasses. And I'm like, you're literally escaping the Navy, and you're like in the middle of this battle, and someone thought it was champagne time. I want to be that guy. I'd be like, so should we just, it looks like we've got caught. Should we just have champagne? Because it was downstairs, and
just do it.
We're going to go to prison or die. And then James Bond grabs the bottle and smashes it over. But that, I would be Champagne Goon. I didn't see him on the.
Yeah, he wasn't credited. No,
that would definitely be the guy. Onto the 3-star reviews.
Yeah,
some very damning 3-star reviews.
Ooh,
I feel like the 3-star reviews for these. There's clearly a lot of people that have just reviewed every single James Bond movie to begin with. But these were more harsh than I think pretty much every other 3-star review we've had. So we had hindsight is marvelous, is it not? We can see things just the way they are.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Anything about it? I
feel like there's something else going on behind that review. Yeah.
And then someone said, I have read the Bond books 4 times over in my lifetime, and I'm just finished with Casino Royale, starting my 5th round with them. I mention this to impress you, dear reader, with my love of Ian Fleming's books.
So go and review the book. Why are you reviewing the DVD?
I'm not sure that's the. And at the end of that review, that person says, I mean, I think we can assume it's a man. All that underwater stuff, I didn't really have a clue what was going on. The cliches were just too sad. I wouldn't say an underwater battle is a cliche. I would say it was quite confusing. But it was Navy people were in one color and the baddies were in black. So that was kind of what they were doing.
And I think you have to have an appreciation for its time, right? Like that would have been a phenomenal scene in its time. No one would have done anything like that before. So it's all well and good going, oh, well, it's great. Now we've got Thanos, destroying an entire galaxy. It's like, well, yeah, but in those times, you could only have an underwater camera. So it was a bit different.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. This was the most this was more successful than any of the first 10 Bonds. Perhaps that is because this is the most disappointing of the lot and put people off future films, and perhaps why the later films had more action. The plot drags and there was some really wooden acting. The first half hour could have been cut to 5 minutes with no loss. Even the Bond song is weak. Connery goes through the motions and would soon leave, all a bit sad. All the better Roger Moore came along. 3 stars.
Wow. Just 3 stars.
Wow, that was more damning.
I feel like that review went on for quite a long time.
Yeah.
Interesting fact about just a quick one on the theme song. So it's Tom Jones. So apparently when he hits the final notes in recording, where he really crescendos up, apparently he fainted. So I would say, that was probably pretty epic song, actually.
He gave it all. He strikes like a thunderball. I was a bit like, I don't really understand what that means.
Yeah, don't worry about that, yeah. Like most of the film, don't go into the details.
One person said no issues. That was the review. And one person found that helpful.
Yeah. Problematic.
Yeah. And then I had to look at the 5 stars reviews, and someone put, this is the apex of Bond. Murders a man in a sauna for no reason. First of all, it's not in a sauna. Second of all, that person has just tried to kill him.
Yeah, Bond doesn't kill anyone for no reason.
Yeah. Gets the point.
Yeah.
It's nice. Classic.
Yeah.
So it would do a lot worse if it came out now because it's pretty dated. So I don't think we don't have to focus on that too much. Kev, what films did you have for the AI?
Yeah,
it's been on a bit of a comeback recently. You name a film. If it's one of the first 3 films that the AI gets, the AI wins. If not, then it's all over.
Well, I mean, obviously he would have come up with loads of other Bond films because all the other Bond films. Oh, it did come up with any other Bond films?
No.
Oh, wow.
So this is the first. Actually, this is the first 6 movies.
Yeah. Okay. So I was going to say Bond films, Austin Powers, or Pink Panther. That's what I had.
No, none of them. I feel like Libby might actually be more in tune with with the AI from before you saw the film.
Go on, Libby. What do you think?
Wait,
This is just a film that the AI thinks is like this film.
Yeah. What? Yeah. Anything else you think it'd be like?
So if you
Mission
like
Impossible.
Mission Impossible.
Oh,
Guys,
wow.
Yeah.
I guess that is true, actually. That is probably fair.
Mission Impossible is way more serious than this. So,
but the original, like if you think about the original Mission Impossible,
it's quite dark though, the first one. Oh, yeah. Well, they say Man from U.N.C.L.E. as well, or like the AI comes out with Man from U.N.C.L.E. the Henry Cavill one. Yeah. And then Triple X as well. And I was like, it wasn't like, it's not like Triple X.
No. I mean, there is some bad acting in it, but come on, we've not gone to Vin Diesel level.
Yeah. Nicolas Cage would have been a different Bond, but
the Messiah. Yeah.
Waiting for that.
Yeah. All right. Everyone just froze there. What's going on? All right. So should we? So Andy, it's on the list. Is it staying on the list? Is it moving up? Is it moving down? What's happening?
Yeah, so I mean, we said this is the Bond movie. I do feel there has to be a Bond movie on there. I really like it. I think, as I say, it's fun. It's fun without being silly, which I think some of them just get silly.
Yeah,
it's not a superhero movie because he's really not very good and has to get saved by women quite often.
Yes,
it's a bit long. I would say it could shave off 10 minutes of the underwater stuff. They really just liked shooting underwater. I could think that's like a new toy. It's a bit like me when I first got my drone. just going to just shoot loads of footage and never use it. I think nowadays I haven't even seen the last 2 James Bond movies, and so I think James Bond as a whole would probably drop down the list a little bit. So I have a free slot at 83.
Okay.
And so I thought I'd just drop it back down to 83.
Yeah, nice.
How about you for all of my films? You rating them all? Where does it fit in your league?
I'd say this is sort of mid-table for me. I reckon around, I think about 11th I had it at. So it's not too bad. Just below Neverending Story, just above Aeroplane. So nice little nice little slot for it.
Yeah, nice. Well, great. Well, thanks so much. Thanks so much, Libby, for watching a James Bond movie for the first time. I hope you had fun with it. For next week, Sean Connery would not be happy with the film that is featured on the same podcast as him. We'll get into that maybe next week. But the quote is, what's up there? The view. The view of what? The view of down here? I can see that down here. Classic.
Great.
Thanks to Tom Evans as ever for the theme song, and we'll catch you next week.